All right, everyone. Well, welcome officially to Live with Marcy and Amy, your heart centered woman. I, of course, am Marcy Newman, your host, and I have two absolutely wonderful, wonderful guests with me today, and I'd like to introduce them. First off, we have Teresa Greco. Teresa, can you say hi to everyone?
Hi, everyone.
And we have Dr. Lisa Holt. Lisa, can you say hi?
Hello, hello.
And this show, by the way, for anyone coming in who's new, Amy and I have this show the third Thursday of every single month with a different theme. And we are here to really have intimate discussions and to come into a space of being heart centered. And so that's really the focus of everything that we do. So we'll be bringing in our conversation back into the heart, of course, making that journey from the head and coming back in to do what women do best. And that is to tap into their feminine wisdom. And we're here to share it all. So today's show is how to tap into the abundance of love, how to stop contorting yourself, own your authenticity, and step empowered into the love that you deserve and awaits you. And so I would like to actually start this off with sharing a very simple quote. Okay. And here it is: Life in abundance comes only through great love. So, with that, I think we'll ask Lisa, would you like to start and just tell our audience a little bit about your work? And of course, what's so important about you being here today?
Absolutely. My name is Dr. Lisa Holt, and I am a transpersonal counselor and certified life and relationship coach. And I do all of my work through the lens of how we relate in relationships, whether it's intimate relationships, work, family, friends, whatever those dynamics are. We look at our growth and our opportunity through the lens of relationship.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here. And thank you for your patience. It's been a little bit tumultuous this morning. So we're so happy that you've stuck with us. And Teresa, how about you? Can you just tell everyone about your work, your background, and why it's so important that you're here with us today?
Thank you. So I'm Teresa Greco, and I'm on a mission to help make the world a happier place. And I'm trying to do that in every capacity that I can. So I'm a multiple time TEDx speaker. I am a 4-time best-selling author. I'm an international writer. I have 4 different shows that I'm either the co-host or host of. I'm an educator, educational technologies consultant. I'm also pursuing my PhD with my dissertation on inner happiness. And so it is all to share all about all of those. Those are wonderful and beautiful things, but they're all tied to the mission of being able to help people to connect with their true inner happiness by
Mm.
understanding what real happiness is, which is very much tied to self-love and authenticity. And so the topic of our discussion today is like exactly what I talk about, exactly what I write about. And through everything that I do, it's always about giving people the practical steps that they
Yeah.
can take to live their happiest life. I'm also a life coach. I certify people who want to be life coaches as well. So I do that through my coaching practice. So I'm a spiritual guide, I'm a Reiki master, I'm a channeler, lots and
Yeah.
lots and lots of different things. Again, all tied about like sharing my love for humanity, and through that love, trying to bring more happiness wherever I can. So I just want to thank you so much, Marcy and Amy, for having me on the show today. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and giving me an opportunity to share my message of happiness with you all. So thank you.
Well, we are so excited, and I say we should just jump in. So I know we were going to start this program with you, Lisa. And so I'd like to just begin by saying, as a transpersonal counselor, and certified life and relationship coach. How does our relationship with abundance impact our ability to receive love authentically?
Yeah, I love this conversation because one of the things that a lot of people, when you ask them what is abundance, most people point to money. And
Mm.
abundance is way more than money, as we probably all know, right? And so when we look at, if someone shows up and they're saying, I'm looking for love, I can't find love, or I'm looking for money and I can't find money, we just look at the scarcity mindset. Your ability to receive and also give, in that revolving circle that happens. And when we look at abundance, it's this opportunity to open ourselves up to receive. And so it's such a beautiful lens to look at it through, because you look at how am I blocking myself from receiving? And we look at all the evidence. If we are looking at our relationships, I know for me personally, as I entered into my relationship with my husband, I came into it with all kinds of thoughts and patterns that I had no idea how to navigate, or that those blocks were even there. And it was through my own relationship that I learned what abundance truly
Mm,
means.
that's really beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Um, yeah, I mean, there's so much for us to, really look at deeply, especially when it comes to being able to receive love. And as you said, the connection between love and abundance is so clear. So,
Yeah.
with that, I think you wanted to ask Teresa a question, didn't you, Lisa?
Yeah. I, Teresa, you and I both, I think, come from a lot of the same lens. As I was hearing your introduction, and we're meeting for the first time, and I really resonate with the self-love piece, right? And when we speak of happiness, it's what does it really mean to love ourselves, and how does that cultivate self-love to long-term happiness?
Mhm.
I'm
So
excited to hear this answer as well. I love this.
thank you. And so happiness is really a facet of love. So I describe love like a prism, and that when you shine light through the prism, it creates a beautiful rainbow of color. All of those colors represent the beautiful feeling emotions that we feel because of love. So we feel happiness and joy and peace and harmony and excitement and enthusiasm, and all the great feelings we have are all because of love. Love is the foundation to it all. We are love always. We are peace always, and we are happiness always. Happiness is more than just a transient emotion that we feel when things are going right for us. It's the same thing for love. Love is not something that we only feel when we meet the right person. That love is always there, but it's like we're disconnected or not tuned in to the truth of that which we are. Happiness and love is flowing through us always. It is not just an emotion, it's not just a state of mind, it's a state of being. We are love at our core. Our essential nature, our original nature is love. We're just disconnected. And so it's really about what steps can we take to align our mental, emotional, and physical self with the love that our spiritual self always is. It is all we see that innately in children. Children are always loving, at peace, and happy. But the world, it's like gets its claws into us and has us feeling a whole host of other things. And so because why am I doing all this work around happiness? It's because I wasn't happy a little over 10 years ago. I was really at the lowest point of my life because I wasn't loving myself and because I wasn't living authentically. It was like those were the two things that I discovered after like working on myself for so long and then getting to a place that I felt that I could help other people. And so that's why when I said that this is really the foundation of my work, it's because that's what I discovered about why I was feeling the way that I was, even though my life looked perfect on the outside. I had achieved all the things that family, society, culture, and religion told me that I needed to have a happy life, not realizing that I was looking for love outside of myself because I didn't know that I was love already. Looking for happiness in all of the different areas that we believe happiness is found, which is in our possessions, positions, titles, degrees, relationships, experiences, and appearance. That we say, oh, we'll be happy when I lose those 10 pounds. I'll be happy when I found that perfect person. I'll be happy when I pay off my mortgage, get that, go on that vacation, get that promotion. Happiness is always somewhere outside of ourselves, not recognizing that there's a part of us that is always happy. There's a part of us that is always loving us unconditionally. We're just disconnected. Mentally, we're disconnected. Emotionally, we're disconnected. And physically, we're disconnected. And we know, because those aspects, all aspects, are always communicating with ourselves. So we know when physically we're disconnected. So it's like, what steps do we take? So when you say what can you do to love yourself? It's recognizing first that you are love first. And that how do we align the other aspects so we can feel that love? And then when we do that, it radiates from us outward into everything that we do, into everyone that we meet. And that's why this work is so important, because the more that we love ourselves, the more we can be loving to everybody else. That's why I do the work. That's why I remove the blocks. That's why I do, like what Lisa was saying about trying to figure out what those thoughts and limiting beliefs are, so that you can remove the layers and move closer and more in alignment with the truth of that which we are, which is love. It can only ever be love. But if we don't realize that, it's because we're disconnected or pulled away, not tuned in, not aligned.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Yes, for sure.
Now, Marcy,
Yes.
as the heart shift coach that you do, focusing also on self-love, and an energy specialist, I have a question for you.
Please.
So you speak also of abundance and love as something that we can tap into. What does that mean, and how do we do that? And is it possible for everyone?
Great question. And I guess I want to go back a little bit to something that Lisa had said about, most people think about abundance as being money. So most people think about abundance as something that you have acquired, right? And your list, you can have a whole, slew of different lists. I've acquired this, I have that, and you count it all up. Oh, I'm abundant. And the truth of the matter is that abundance is a vibrational frequency. It is an energy that is completely unique to itself, and yet it travels in this wave, this umbrella wave of energy that is love, just as you described, Teresa, right? It is all encompassing. So once you have tapped into that energy of love, you automatically are going to experience abundance. You cannot, because they're married, they go hand in hand. And in that energy of love, you have other companions, you might say, in terms of how you experience that love. So, right now, we're talking about abundance. So, when we can start to reorient our understanding about how we are meant to be in this world. And I love so much about what you said, Teresa, like really embodying that. And Amy, I'm sure we'll talk more about this too. But when we embody ourselves as love, we actually already know how to tap into abundance, how to tune into it. Because what will happen is the moment that we've slipped out of it, we're going to recognize that. We start to discern that energy, and we know immediately we want to reorient ourselves. We want to come back into alignment with that energy, because when you've been committed to doing this work, which is what, we hope that you all will do. It's why we come back here month after month. When you're committed to doing this work, you will start to master that ability to discern energy, and particularly when you're in or out of love or self-love, which, is what we all talk about. So, is it possible for everyone? Absolutely. Because as Teresa said, love is who we are.
Mhm.
It is the fiber of our very existence. It is the energy of our true nature. Why? Because we are here as creators. And the only energy that has the capacity to create is love. So we start to reorient ourselves so that we're not looking for love outside of ourselves, but rather we start to look for the love that is already within ourselves. And
Mhm.
now we've stepped into a whole different world. So thank you so much for that.
Mhm.
And Amy, I'd actually like to come to you. I'm so happy you're here. Welcome back. Let's hope that you're staying. And so, Amy, would you take a moment, please, and just let everyone know who you are? You didn't have an opportunity to introduce yourself. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, I didn't either. But Amy, you're such an incredible women's empowerment coach, and you do so much. Just let everybody know.
Yeah, so hello everybody. Thanks for being patient. And it's always an adventure. Life is always an adventure. So
That's right.
we're on this ride together. So let's take it lovingly. Let's tap into the love of this moment. So I'm Amy Shade. I am a women's empowerment coach, life coach. I also am the creator of the Radical Embodiment Method, which is a method that really this speaks to what we're talking about, like tapping into this abundance of love is an embodiment process. It is not this thought process. So this is going to be very exciting for me. And all of our guests here, welcome. Hello, Amy. I really support creative people, like really creative people who want to write that book, who want to start that coaching business, who want to be a speaker, who's an artist, right? These creative people who want to produce something for the world, to create something for the world. So I support those women in making that happen through, like Teresa was talking about, the limiting beliefs, the coaching talks and all that. But so anyways, I am here to support you all the way. And I want to answer this question because we have it so ass backwards, especially as creators, where we think being hard on ourselves, judging ourselves, saying things to ourselves is going to make us better at what we do. And it's the opposite. It's really thinking about shifting the energy into love. Now, we are energy beings. We're all energy beings. So once we accept that we're energy beings, that means we get to shift energy. And I'm a dance teacher, and this is big in dance, where we're carving out space. We're carving out our energy. We're walking into a room. We're shifting our energy during class. Now, the old school way is shifting your energy into like, I'm not good enough. I need to fix this. This is, I will never be good enough. That's not the way to go. So we shift the energy into the experience of loving this moment and where we're at right now. Right? Instead of, I look fat when you look in the mirror, my arms aren't right. This is the wrong place to be. And we as creators now, we need to accept love in our life. We need to accept that the abundance of love, the energy of love is tangible to us. It's inside of our body and it needs to come out. So that when we walk into a room or we go in to do a speech or we go into do a business meeting, that we are embodied through the energy of love. To me, the energy of love is very sparkly. It's got effervescence. It's bubbles. It is a physical aspect of what I'm able to do with my energy as an energy body. So this is where we need to shift into the embodiment of it because it makes it so much easier. Because we want to feel joyful. We want to feel happy. We want to feel love. We want to feel sparkly and open, right? This is what we want to feel as we are creators and move forward in this world. The old paradigm of being self-deprecating, self-judgment, I'm never good enough is now officially over. It's over. We as creators must shift our energy because we are needed now more than ever, and it's our time.
That's right.
And with that, I feel a little discombobulated, but I'm okay. Here we go. Oh my gosh. All right, Lisa, right? I'm going to Lisa.
Yes.
Dr. Lisa, thank you. We're on number what subconscious patterns block people from experiencing deep love and connection, and how can they shift them?
Yeah, I love this so much. This is one of the core areas that I work with clients, and it is all around unresolved attachment wounds. And if any of you here have not delved into this work, what it looks like is all of us at some point in the beginning of our journey into this planet, we were born into some sort of a unit, whether it was a mom and dad or mom and mom, whatever that unit was, we were born and we had experiences. And when we had those experiences, we didn't know that we had choices. And so what I see in these unresolved attachment wounds is that all of us reach a point in life and we feel certain feelings, whether it's anger, guilt, resentment, all of the feelings. And we get a chance to look at where did that come from? Unresolved attachment wounds. And one of the practices that I do with clients and with myself, which is how I ended up doing this work, is going back. For me, it was going back to that 3-year-old version of me when my parents divorced. And I made a meaning from that I didn't even know I'd made a meaning from until I was older. But I made that mean that I had to look out for me. Because if I let somebody too close to me, they could leave. And I wasn't going to let anybody do that to me again. And so I had to take a moment at a point in my life where I realized that that was blocking me from love. I had to go back to that 3-year-old version of me and realize that I could make a different choice. I could open myself up to the possibilities. And when we realize in those moments of those initial experiences that we made mean something and realize we had a choice to make it mean something else and have a different truth, we get to heal those wounds. And it's such a beautiful practice, such a beautiful practice. And on that note, Teresa, because you are all Miss Happiness, right? It's one of the foundational pieces, and like you said, of happiness is this beautiful spectrum. And so on that note, what does it have to do with a person's personality, or what does it have to do with their ability to tap into the abundance of love?
Mhm. So because as I explained that happiness is a facet of love or a byproduct of love, that it's always about coming back to the love. So when we think about the things that we love to do, then we naturally feel happy as a result of that. Or we hang around people who we love, we feel happy as a result of that. And so happiness, because it feels like it's actually tied to things that we're doing that are outside of ourselves. So, oh, I love going to sporting events. I love going to restaurants. I love traveling. And so during the pandemic, people thought, well, now that I can't do this and I can't do that, and we were blocked in a whole bunch of different ways, I can't see the people who I love. How do you expect me to be happy? And so it was through my conversations with spirit, because I was saying the same things. How do you expect me to be happy if I can't go shopping and I can't do the things that I thought my happiness was tied to? And they explained to me that those things are only ever a vehicle that's helping you to connect to a part of yourself that is always happy and happy in abundance. So happiness is an innate quality of our spiritual self. That energy that we're all talking about, the infinite, eternal part of us, that part of us is only ever happy. And it's happiness like where we describe it as bliss. And so we could liken it to, so they gave me this analogy, like the electricity that's flowing through all of the walls. It's always there. It's like happiness is like our arm. It's there. When we plug into our happiness, or when we plug into like the socket in the wall, we feel the happiness, or we feel the electricity in that case, that's always flowing. But if we're working 80 or 60 to 80 hours a week, and we get to the end of the week and we say, my life sucks. Yeah, it does. Because how much time did you take to plug into the happiness that's always flowing through you and flowing in abundance? Because it is who we are. We are love always. And as a result of that, we are happiness and peace too. So it is a matter of us tuning into it, plugging into it, making time to participate in those things that are only ever a vehicle that's helping us to connect with a place within us that is happy. So when people, as I said, think that their happiness is tied to the gym and tied to concerts and tied to all those things, the happiness isn't those things. Those things are you making time to plug in and being present and in the moment when you're doing that, because happiness is found in the now. When we're plugged in, tuned in, we feel it. And we know, because we're having great conversations with our friends, we're enjoying the music, we're on the lounge chair at the beach and enjoying the scenery and sipping our pina colada. We are so in the now and we're feeling so good. All we're doing is plugging in. And guess what? You can plug into that at any time. All you have to do is make a choice to do that, that it's always flowing through you and flowing in abundance. You just have to make time to plug in to the part of yourself. And that often takes aligning all the aspects, because when we are plugged in, our mental is there, our emotional is there, and our physical is there too, because it's like all aspects are aligned. And so that's what true happiness is. Happiness is not in all of these things that, even to say my dissertation is on this, is that looking at other people's definitions of how we've defined happiness, it's much simpler than any of that. And that it looks like, even in the science of happiness, because I'm diving into the science of positive psychology, and even that, it's so much tied to the work. It's like, once this is aligned, once this is in place, once this is like, guess what? It's even simpler than that. It's just coming back to who we really are. That's what happiness is. Coming back to who we really are, making time to tap into it, aligning all aspects of ourselves, and we could be living in the now, feeling happy every single day and every single moment.
Thank you.
Now, Marcy, in your
Yes.
practice, I can't wait to get your perspective on this. In
Okay.
your practice, what do you believe or have seen in your clients to be the most common reason that women contort themselves in relationships? And how does that end up manifesting in the relationship or in themselves?
Yeah. This is really an unfortunate aspect of the conditioning that most of us have received from childhood, actually. And in that conditioning or programming, so often we've experienced a sense where we were not enough in some way, right? So, with that is the counterbalance, you might say, is this belief that we have to earn love, Well, how can you earn love if you're not enough, if you're not lovable, if you're not worthy of love, if you're not deserving of love? And so, as a child and as an adult, what am I saying? All of that is so confusing, right? Wait. So I have to earn love, but I'm not enough to do that. And so you're constantly in this hamster's wheel where you can't get a grip on your own truth. You can't even begin to tune into that true nature where love is just waiting to be expressed. So what happens is you, like in many other circumstances in life, you start to try on positions, right? You try on a different positioning to see, well, oh, do I get a loving reaction if I do that? Oh, if I speak like that. Oh, if I like the same things that you like. Oh, if I'm non-confrontational. Oh, if I'm not too loud. Oh, if I'm, not to this, not to that. And so what happens is we then start developing this new pattern where, in order to find some kind of validation from the outside, we contort ourselves, changing our positions in order to find acceptance from those around us. As you can imagine, in a world with billions of people, how impossible that is, right? Because as people evolve, so do their needs. So do their expectations of you satisfying those needs. So do, in other words, you have this whole domino effect when you start to depend, your worthiness is dependent on the outside world's validation of you, you will never achieve it. It's impossible because it is ever changing, just as your contortions are. So you can never be in alignment with that long enough for you to get the validation that you need. And what's so interesting is that in my practice, what I've seen is that, this is so much the work of the ego, right? The energy of this human world that's constantly sort of badgering you with the information and the justification as to why you're not enough, because its role, as it believes itself to be, is to prevent you from going outside of how it believes you need to be in order to be safe. So it keeps you in that very narrow road, you might say. And so, what I have found with my clients is, as they start to understand that this is out of alignment from their true nature, that love is already what they are, there is no need to earn anything, there is no need to contort or to prove themselves worthy of it, that the need for that outside validation starts to disappear. And what happens is there is a reunion with their true nature and, of course, their empowerment. Because, and Amy and I talk about empowerment as empowerment. It's not EM, it's IN. Empowerment. It's where we really start to tune in, to tap into the truth of who we are, and that power that then gives us the ability to, from my perspective, of course, attract people and circumstances and situations that are also in alignment with our true nature, with our higher frequencies of energy. And that's how we want to live. It's the way we deserve to live. So it's also interesting how it's tied together, and yet it comes back to the same thing over and over and over again. It is this radical acceptance that we are love. We are that energy already. So let's learn more about ourselves from that perspective and start feeding that energy. And of course, then we feed everything that we want to see come into the reality of our existence. So It's really quite profound. And it's why I love it so much. Anyway, I'd like to move on. Amy, tell me something. How does radical acceptance help women break free from the need to contort themselves, allowing them to live more authentically?
Yeah, thank you for that, Marcy. So, I'm thinking about what Dr. Lisa said and then what you're saying, and it's like, uh this is so like so many places to go with this. So radical acceptance, okay. Radical acceptance is a great place to start. But I do want to say this. Yes, we have been programmed as women to deny how we feel, deny our voice, deny our visibility, deny. Now, you have to radically accept, like Dr. Lisa says, that we have been programmed a certain way. You have to radically accept that you have wounds that need to be looked at, right? We all have to radically accept that we have been programmed in such a way that we need to look at those programmings that we were given. That's otherwise everything if you don't radically accept that, then it's like that's like the first step to understanding why things aren't working, to understanding why you're not happy, to understanding why you have conflict, to understanding why you are putting yourself in these situations, to understanding why you're contorting yourself. Like, I remember being like 3 different people to 3 different people. Okay. I remember shape shifting every time. I mean, that's over. Okay. What you see is what you get at this point. And so, but that is because I was taught how to do that. I was taught how to not be true to myself. We've all been taught how not to be true to ourselves. And this is like the first thing of radical acceptance is I've been taught like how to behave this way. I've been taught to have these thoughts. I've been taught to have these feelings. I've been taught to have these emotions. And so once we radically accept that, then we have some digging to do. Like Lisa said, going back and like reflecting, like, what this is interesting, right? Where did this thought come from? Where does this belief come from? Excuse me. And that's when you get into this abundance of love. The abundance of love is curious. Remember that. When we are in the state of love, we're curious. We're like, ooh, I wonder what this ice cream tastes like. Ooh, I wonder what he's like. Oh, I wonder what she's like, right? We're in a curious state. When we are shape shifting and being 3 different people to 3 different people, there's really no safety there. And I want to speak about this because women in safety is very important. It's a very core need for us to feel safe in the physical body and in our, especially with the physical body, but in general, our environment safe, right? Do I feel safe? Is this a safe place for me? This is very important for women. And when we shape shift and we change who we are to people, we are never in that state of feeling safe and capable because we're never authentically ourselves. And so when you get into radically accepting, wow, I've really been programmed. And guess what? No one is responsible for me, my feelings, my thoughts, my happiness. I'm the only one responsible. And that's the other radical acceptance. Once we radically accept that we are the only ones responsible for ourselves, we start taking responsibility, which then shifts our level of thinking. And we fall in love with ourselves. I think I hit my points. I'm gonna go on here. So Lisa, Dr. Lisa. So, how can someone cultivate radical self-trust and authenticity, thank you, in their relationships?
I have to give some context for this answer. Growing up, I lived in a home where we didn't talk about our feelings. And as I got older, I when I finished my undergrad, I moved in with a longtime best friend, and I couldn't figure out why she couldn't read my mind. Because growing up, my parents and my brothers, they just read my mind. I didn't have to tell them what was on my mind. And so when I had that realization, I went on this long journey of learning how to communicate. And one of the core concepts of communication is listening. And so to answer your question, Amy, deep listening to ourselves and deep listening to the people that we can trust who are also on this journey of doing deep inner work. And that deep listening requires us to sit in stillness and ask ourselves deep, penetrating questions. The questions we don't want anyone to ask us, the questions we don't even want the answers to. But that deep listening, every morning I wake up and I come into my office and I spend about 30 minutes to an hour and just ask myself questions. And it's surprising the answers that we can get if we just do some deep listening. And I do this in the morning because no one's pinging me, no one's calling my name. There's nothing to do. The world is still, as far as I'm concerned, right? So that deep listening, you get some really, really insightful answers. And if you're not used to asking yourself questions, or you're scared of asking yourself the questions, you seek out someone who is doing that work. Maybe it's someone who is a partner, or someone like all the ladies here, right? Where you can trust and say, you know what, can you ask me some deep, penetrating questions that I can contemplate, or that we can contemplate together? And deep listening, I highly, highly invite everyone to just find 10 minutes in your day to just stop, turn off the notifications, and just do some deep listening. And that is one strategy. And so I'm going to ask Teresa, because this is the question. What are some other effective spiritual strategies to stop contorting ourselves to meet external expectations and start living authentically and improve the way we connect with the world?
And it totally jumps off of what you were saying about the deep listening. So all aspects of ourselves are always speaking to us. Our physical self speaks to us. When you have a headache and your neck hurts and your back, it's speaking to you. How you respond to that communication, maybe sometimes you take an Advil, you numb it out, or you decide to have alcohol, you numb it out. Instead of looking into that and saying, oh, what do I need to do? This really hurts. Maybe I need to go see a doctor. Maybe I need to stretch. Maybe I need to go for a walk. Maybe. So it's like the same thing, that our spiritual self is always talking to us. And so when we do that deep listening, as you said, we're able to get guidance that only our inner being knows. That when I was at the lowest point of my life, when I was asking those questions, the questions, as you said, that were so hard, that was like, am I happy living the life that I'm living? Although it looked perfect on the outside, checks off all the boxes. And the realization that I wasn't happy and I felt that there was always something missing, that there was this void in my life, no matter how much more job experience I got, how much more education I got, how much more I tried to help people, I always felt that there was something missing. The truth was, what was missing was my connection to my spiritual self, that I had been brought up Catholic, went to church, had a connection to God. But for me, God, I was taught that God was outside of me. God was at church. And then unless I got to church, wasn't the same. I said, if my parents can't get to church that day, can I pray at home? No, it's not the same. He's at church. So it kept me away from God my entire life. And that and God too. I mean, we won't go into that in this discussion, but nevertheless, when I ended up going to a medium, because I said, I have questions, as you said, questions that only, I believe, the questions that we're seeking answers to all exist inside of ourselves. We just need to know how to tune into it. And so I ended up going to a medium and I said, listen, I have questions. Only God's going to be able to help me. And she says, well, you need to meditate. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. That again, this was over 10 years ago. It was not so cool and buzzword and all the resources and everything we have now, which I'm so happy for. I'm a meditation coach now, so happy for all these resources. But back then, my family thought I was part of a cult. Everything was weird and woo-woo. They told me to stop. And I'm like, you guys don't know. You don't know what's been missing. And so nevertheless, as soon as I connected, I discovered a part of myself that I had been disconnected from. And that part is unconditional love, happiness, and peace. And I'm like, oh my God, I had been looking for these things outside of myself my entire life, not knowing that I am that already. And that all I need to do is to plug into it, to make time to listen, as you said. And that the things that help us to connect with our inner being instead of our outer being. Our outer being is our personality and identity. When people say, Teresa, what are you? Well, I'm an educator, I'm this. Not the truth of who I am is infinite and eternal. The truth of who I am is unconditional love and only that. And that's big. That when Amy said it's big, it's sparkly, it's opalescent, it's magical, it's all of those things. But I was disconnected from that. And many of us are not taught or know how to connect. And when we do that, we have access to that infinite guidance from infinite intelligence, that source energy, that universe, that spirit, whatever word you want to call it, we have access to that. And it does require that we listen. So some of those practices, for me, meditation is that gateway practice that helps us to immediately connect, but sitting in silence, that in the summertime, when I'm sitting outside and I have the warmth of the sun on my face and the warm breeze on my shoulders, and I'm there with my eyes, just being mindful, right? Mindfulness is one of those practices that helps you to tune into the present moment, the gift of the present moment, enjoying all the energy around us that we can take in with our eyes and take in with our ears and feel on our skin. It's all energy. And in human form, we have the ability to translate all of that in color and 3D objects, and all of that is just so, it's literally miraculous. That's why we came here. That's why we shape shift, as Amy said, shape shifting into like human form to be able to take in all that energy in 3D, which is incredible. So it could be walking. Nature is one of those very quick ways for us to help to connect with our truth. So, and being out there barefoot if you can, even better. Playing with our kids, playing with our dogs. They are unconditional love. As soon as we connect with them, we feel it. We're grounded, we're centered, we're aligned. Journaling, another great practice. Doing all the things that when you do it, make you feel happy. But again, all you're doing is connecting. So it could be drawing, painting, baking, all the things. Everybody's, I call it your happiness toolkit. Everybody's toolkit is made up of different things. All of those things are all spiritual practices. That's the other thing, is like demystifying what is a spiritual practice. It doesn't mean, it doesn't have to mean the loose clothing and the beads and the candles and the incense and like the music and the pill. Doesn't need to be any of those things. All it means is you tuning into the present moment. It takes 1 minute to do that with your breath.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Teresa. We're going to just ask you to continue on with the next one. Yep. And we'll have
That's
time at the
true.
end, by the way, for questions as well. So yeah, this will be great. I
So
loved
this,
where you were going with it, though. So go
I
ahead.
know, because everything you're saying, I'm just like, it's hitting home. I'm like, oh, I know why I'm here today, because this is like messages that I have to share, but messages that I also need to receive. And
Of
it's
course.
hitting in a great place. So thank you so much.
You're
So
welcome.
Marcy, this question is for you. After someone has had many failed relationships that are often devastating, how can someone start to own their authenticity? Which makes sense, because oftentimes we may have altered ourselves to try to be who we believe the other person wants us to be. And so, how do we own our authenticity after something like that and actually step into more of that which we deserve?
Yeah. This is something that I actually speak about quite often, and in fact, have written about it as well. And that is not just the value of spiritual accountability, but the necessity of it. It actually is the core of our spiritual growth. Because when we start to take responsibility, but also to be accountable for what we have experienced, there is something miraculous that happens. We start to make that shift between, number one, being a mere human, right? Who may be feeling like you've just been spit out, right, from the relationship, and that you are perhaps a victim. Um, what happens in that moment when you start to shift from being responsible into being accountable, you're actually stepping into your role as a creator. And I think, particularly at this time, Amy and I have spoken about this at length. I believe that we are being invited to step into our own divinity. In other words, to accept that we are divine creators. That's what we're doing here. And in fact, we are here stepping into the creative aspects of this new earth that we all want to be experiencing. And so the spiritual accountability is owning that aspect of self where we can be creative. And in order to be creative, we have to let go of the parts of us that have kept us separate from that. So we have to let go of the blaming, the shaming, the pointing of fingers, but we also have to let go of all of that in the fingers that we point at ourselves. Because we're not meant to beat ourselves up over our experiences. We are meant to grow and expand and evolve. So when we start to accept that every experience is here for that purpose, and that we have created those experiences for that purpose, again, we can now start to shift everything about ourselves and how we are relating, not only to our lives, but to our families, our friends, all of our relationships, the communities that we live in, the towns, the states, the country, the world, all of it. There's a ripple effect to that. Because as we are stepping into that new level of perspective, which is accepting our divinity, we can also now start to offer that to others. And so, where in the past we may have been at war with others and we were at war within ourselves, we can now literally find peace within ourselves and extend that to others, because we recognize that being accountable is not a form of punishment. It is a form of actual harvesting. We are harvesting what we gleaned from that experience. What were the aspects of self that created it, that we're asking to realign with the truth, being that we are divine beings? And now our only work is to make certain that we're continuing to just let go of those aspects that kept us separate from it. So we are in a brand new paradigm here. And I believe, and I'm certain that everyone here in this panel would agree with me, is that this ability to accept ourselves as divine beings, the authorities of our lives, depends on that self-love, depends on our ability to totally embrace ourselves in our truth and the true nature, which is that we are empowered as love itself, being expressed in this world. So we're in very exciting times. And again, it's why Amy and I are so committed to this program. And with that, actually, Amy, I'd like to ask you this question. What is the connection between embodiment and authenticity? And how does like fully inhabiting oneself support true self-expression?
Yes, thank you. Yes, as you're speaking, I'm thinking, as systems are crumbling around us, right? Uh, we can't go down. Like, this is a big opportunity for us on this call and in the world to really come home to self, to really take on that accountability and responsibility as things are breaking down, for us to flourish, for us to come back to self, for us to hook up to spirit, energy, universe, however you want to say it, God, Mother God, and to really think of this as an opportunity for us to really figure stuff out, to really take the time to invest in yourself, stay with self, not the outside world, because the outside world is crumbling at this point. It's going down. And so you have to you have to understand you're separate as a divine being. You're actually separate from the happenings of things around you, whether it's a crumbling relationship with your family or your partner, or what's happening in the world today. Okay. So the more that we separate who our divine being from that happening, the more we fall in love with ourselves, and the more opportunities and possibilities we can actually see. I mean, I've gone down the rabbit hole. I'm like, I'm like, I gotta get off this rabbit hole. I mean, maybe I give my rabbit holes to Mondays only, right? Just to stay caught up. But otherwise, I'm like, I'm in the rabbit hole. And when I'm in the rabbit hole, I am not helping anyone, including myself. So we need to really shift that. So embodiment and authenticity. Yes. Now, I'm going to talk about values in the next one, but our body is a truth teller, right? We hear information, it goes in our ear. Our mind hears it. Our body has a reaction to the information. Okay. That is our authentic voice speaking to us. Now, sometimes it's something you don't want to listen to necessarily. Sometimes it comes from especially around relationships and men, when you're you hear the words, your body's like, I want to go so bad, even though it's a toxic relationship. So we have to have some discernment around that when it comes to relationships. But basically, it's good information to say, wow, I'm willing. This is radical acceptance comes in. I'm willing to actually give up my value and go back to that toxic relationship because my body is urging me to do it. So our body is the truth teller and it has great information. And the more that we listen to our body, the more authentic we will become. Because we've been taught that our body is shameful, that our body is not perfect enough, you don't look right, you're not supposed to, you're always on a continual diet or whatever, it's like you're on this change. It's not good as it is made up. So we as women have to come back to our connection to our body because that's our authentic self. It lives in there. It has a lot of information for us that we do not listen to. And so as a dancer, right? For years, I danced without embodiment. I danced with my head above, with expression, not with technique, but with expression. Now I'm like faking my smiles, trying to like fake my performance through my head. Now I shift into embodiment of joy, or embodiment of innocence, or embodiment of confidence, or embodiment, whatever the dance piece requires. Now my expression is through that embodied value. This is where values come in. But anyways, we'll talk about that later. I should have done that first maybe. But anyways, so this is where I'm like, I want to embody the value of confidence. I'm able to do that. And then I'm able to perform that on stage, right? Where it used to be, I have to act like I'm confident. And that was fake. I was on stage going like, this is so fake, right? But now it's like, oh no, I could do this, right? And so self-expression is through embodiment. And once we embody these values that we desire, your whole energy changes as an energy being that I spoke about earlier. And then you shift experiences through being an embodied, energetic being. Oh, God, it's just so many ways to go with this.
Well, you've done a great job. You've done a great job, and you're right. But as I was thinking too, Ames, I wonder if you could share with everybody about our VIP program, because we have some incredible courses in there that are part of this bonus package that I think is going to help to support everybody listening to really come into a higher level of understanding, connection, and of course, frequency.
Should I share my screen and we can kind of...
Yeah, sure, go right ahead. Yeah, I just want everybody to know that it's available to them. Yeah. And to those also who, will be listening to the replay.
Yeah, so we got our VIP love bundle. We are in the love bundle business here. So we got spiritual accountability from Marcy for the Heart-Centered Woman, which is an online course. I think you have 10 modules in there. There's the Radiant Reflection Meditations for the Heart-Centered Woman. That's me. Then we're going to talk about reflection. And Teresa talked about meditation. And Lisa questioning. These reflections really help you with that. There's the Emerge from Failure to Flourishing online course, which Teresa has graciously offered for our audience. And Creating Magic in Your Relationships online course with Dr. Lisa Holt. And once you shift into magic and appreciation, your relationships really change. So this is probably a great course.
Yeah.
I'm a proponent.
Yeah.
Then there's the Flip the Switch with Marcy and I. Turn on Your Abundance of Love workshop. We'll be having a workshop in 2 weeks.
March 4th.
March 4th. Thank you. And then the
And
replay.
it's live, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's alive. You get Marcy and I
Full access to us.
full access. So there's also the replay of the fall Heart Center Women Conference. So we do 2 big conferences a year, and this is one of them. And so I think there's 8 experts on that one, and all that for just $47. You get to know our experts in a deep level, more intimate level, and really grab what they have to offer, because
It's a lot.
it's a lot. And as you can tell from our experts talking here, they are passionate, they are knowledgeable, and so willing to show up for all of us. So thank you
right.
at this moment for that. So
Yeah.
jump on in that. Did you put the link in?
No, but I can do that while you're speaking to Lisa.
Oh, is it
And-
my turn? Okay,
Yeah.
great. So Lisa, what role does the nervous system play in attracting and sustaining abundant love? As you can see from me, I'm like, this is a good one.
Well, I always like to start with context. I'm big on context. About 2 months ago, I had a very, very profound experience. And it was 2 days before Christmas. And I was about to start sessions with clients. And my husband let me know that he wasn't feeling well. And I said, okay. And he's not a complainer. So I knew when he said he wasn't feeling well, he wasn't feeling well. So long story short, I ended up having to rush him to the hospital, and he had to end up having an appendectomy. And so there was a sudden just rush of adrenaline and rush of all the feelings, right? So the reason I'm sharing this is because when he came home, when I brought him home from this surgery, he was on pain meds, and they hadn't timed his pain meds well. And so there was a moment where all of the pain started to affect him, and he ended up passing out. And there was a whole host of events around this. This was Christmas night. And so we're talking nervous system. My nervous system went into overdrive because here I have my husband who has just had surgery, and he has passed out on the floor on Christmas night. I was feeling a lot of emotions as I had to rush him back to the hospital. And so the reason that this is so important is because that experience gave me a visceral understanding of what I present to clients. It gave me a visceral understanding of when you expand your capacity of what you can handle. I was at the top of my window of tolerance. If anyone knows what the window of tolerance is, it's that point where you don't think you can make it. When you're at that point when your husband is, you don't know what's wrong and what the outcome is going to be, I felt all the feelings. And here's what that taught me. The nervous system holds a lot of information for us. It holds a lot of information for us. It shows us 3 main responses that you probably all have heard of: fight, flight, freeze, right? So guess what? In that moment when my husband passed out on the floor, my nervous system default response showed up. And it was like, what do I do? What do I do? I froze, right? And immediately that information said, you gotta take action. You gotta take action, right? Our nervous system is wired to tell us what we get to do. And so the reason why this is important is because a lot of the clients that I work with are working through my default. I call myself a recovered avoidant. I was really I came into my relationship just the classic avoidant, and I didn't know. I didn't know what avoidance was. I just knew that when something showed up, when I met my husband, I was like, he was not my husband at that time, but when I first met him and something showed up that I felt a little uncomfortable with, that was not in my tolerance range, I was ready to run. That meant the relationship was over. And I was so fortunate to have a husband who said to me, he is why we're here today, by the way. He said to me, Lisa, you know, if you just tell me what's wrong, we can talk through it. We can work through it and get to the other side. And I was like, that's a thing? We can do that? I didn't know there were choices, right? Our nervous system holds information to show us our capacity. So that is a way of explaining our capacity is the amount of tolerance we have. And within the context of relationship, because that's the portal that I move through, as we expand our capacity, so does our nervous system regulation. And so the nervous system is this beautiful system that we all have that can give us information that informs how we get to grow. And so on that note, I have a question for Teresa. In what ways does owning our authenticity empower us to step into the love we deserve that's awaiting us?
Thank you. Thank you so much. This kind of piggybacks a little bit on what Amy was saying earlier about shape shifting. Part of my story was that I had been wearing many masks, trying to be the perfect mom, perfect daughter, perfect teacher, perfect wife, perfect whoever I thought I needed to be, because I was looking for love, acceptance, and for people to like me my entire life. So all of that was all, how can I be who I need to be, wearing many masks in the process and losing myself. That part of that awareness at the lowest point was that I lost myself in the living of my life. That how does somebody get to 40 years old and not know who she really is? Because her identity is all caught up in my roles and responsibilities, in these masks that I didn't know, because it was always like, who does Teresa need to be now when she's at school with, as a teacher? Who does she need to be with her in-laws? Who is she get to be with her family? Who does she, it was, and it's like, I don't even know. And so that feeling that there was always something missing in my life, that void, that no matter how much more I bought, how much more I earned, how much more I achieved, where I went or what I did, it could not be filled. And it turned out that something missing, which I invite people to think of too, that if you feel like there's something missing in your life, it's very possible that it's your true and authentic self. That's what's missing. Because nowadays with social media, it's very easy for people to just be the perfect whoever on social and create like this image of who they are, and not allowing themselves to be vulnerable in situations because and I know I was not. And now that I made the choice to be my authentic self, but first I have to discover like who that is, because I didn't know who it was. Who is the real Teresa? And it's in this whole process of discovering, of taking off, I call them cloaks, not even veils. They were like cloaks that literally blinded me from who I really was. And there were cloaks that different people put over my eyes, that then I was like, I don't even know who I am. And the work has been me removing it so that I'm slowly beginning to discover who the real me is. And how do I know that when I'm being true to myself and I am being the real me? My emotional self tells me right away. It's like somebody asked me to do something and I'm like, because I lived my life with tons of shoulds and have tos. Now I know that those are red flag statements. But before it was like, oh, I have to do that because that's what a good mom does. I should do that because that's what a good wife does. That was my whole life. Now it's like as soon as I get a little feeling and I'm like, when somebody asks me to do something, I'm like, is that something that I really want to do? Why am I, if I do decide to do, why? What are the reasons behind me wanting to do it? And in that process is where healthy boundaries happen for me. I didn't, that I was just like the yes girl, trying to be everything to everyone. And now I'm like, oh, okay, now it's like me checking in with me. And if I have to create a boundary between, like, I've let go a lot of toxic people, a lot of toxic relationships, because again, my emotional self tells me that those people aren't in alignment with the truth of who I am. So authenticity is us tuning into like who we were before we had the veils put over us, before we had the cloaks, before we put the masks and the blinders on, and removing those so that we can discover who we really are, which is love, peace, and happiness always. And therefore, who we were really meant to be in this lifetime. And now I'm discovering who I was really meant to be, that I wasn't the limited, sabotaged, belittled, all the things that Amy said, that how we show up, how we're feeling. I was all of those things. Never pretty enough, never skinny enough, never enough of lots of different things. And so it's in the movement and discovery of more of who I really am, is discovering the life that I really came here to live.
And
So
we're so happy you did, Teresa.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So Marcy, I have another question for you.
Sure.
Are there any ways that a woman can catch herself in a relationship and prevent contorting? So this is like what we were just talking about, right? How do we bring awareness to like those moments when I'm like, because those would be a moment that I would have contorted myself, right? To appease her partner or whoever it might be. What are some of the ways then that we can stop that, especially if it's become a bit of a pattern? And, you know, I was there too, so I can't wait to hear your answer.
Yeah. And this is so important for each of us, but it also requires this journey of intimacy within ourselves. And, you know, intimacy we talk about often as being into me, see. So it's making certain that you are creating, cultivating this awareness of your patterns. And the best way to do that is to begin to just be present within yourself with the intention to determine when you are shape shifting in order to try to be what you believe that person wants you to be in the moment. So for women, okay, and this is something I've caught myself doing. If, let's say, for instance, we're meeting a man, you know, for the first time and we're having a conversation, has this ever happened to you where you suddenly realize you're fixing your hair? You know, you're sitting in a certain way so that your best side comes forward, or you are directing your conversation so that rather than revealing too much of yourself, you are asking them to reveal themselves so that you know how to answer. This is how it starts. When we can really start to recognize our patterns and how we are reacting to certain people, what we are actually doing is beginning to understand ourselves as energetic beings, because we are picking up on energies, we are reacting to them, and we are deciding, as the ego then becomes really engaged, what we have to do in order to find that validation from that person. in order what we have to do to win their affection, win their seeing us as worthy, seeing us as having something to contribute that's of value. And again, this happens at a very early age, right? I remember being a little girl and being all dressed up, ready to go to church, and my mom saying, "Go show daddy." Go show daddy. And I'd go out there in my dress and my hair would be up and my shoes would be shining. "Hey, daddy. Oh, you're such a pretty little girl." That's how it starts. That's exactly how it starts. So when we just come in again without judgment of ourselves, just start to recognize the patterns, the programming, and ask ourselves the question, is that how we want to present ourselves? Like Amy said earlier, what you see is what you get now with her. And she's so right on. There is no sugarcoating. You see it. And, I think at every phase in our lives, we're challenged with this. So I'm in this phase now. I mean, at my age, um, I'm pretty much saturated, when it comes to doing certain events, certain things that I would do in the past, believing that I had to do it in order to gain something. And so this happens also as I'm growing my presence, in my physical realm and doing more, live workshops, things like that, where I'm living. I, of course, am being invited to attend other things and, standing in my truth and saying, no, that doesn't resonate with me. Um, Actually, no, I'm not willing to give my day to that, or I'm not willing to do this. And so it has to do with me discerning what do I need and what do I want in order to be fulfilled and to create my experience so that it is feeding the parts of me that allow me to be the greatest expression of who I am and who I came here to be and do what I came here to do. So, in other words, what perhaps might have been a distraction before that I might have responded to because I listened to the, "Oh, you should do that," or, "Oh, somebody's not going to like you if you don't do that," or all of that, it no longer is part of my inner conversation. Now it's what you see is what you get, but what you get is a true me, an authentic me that is doing a great job of nurturing and nourishing myself so that I can be present with you. So the more that I feed myself, the less that I am concerned about feeding aspects of life that are not going to feed me. And it's a most remarkable transformation, I think, when we really start to own who we are and actually where our obligations lie. I look at my obligation as really serving the God within me. And that's my priority 100% of the time. It is in being in service to Source and how Source wants me to be present in other places and things. So it comes from that place, of questioning inside. There's this wonderful phrase, and I'm certain, some of you in the audience have heard me speak of this before, and it comes from A Course in Miracles. And it's, where should I go? What should I do? Who should I speak to? And what should I say? For me, that's it. I don't have to ask even any other questions. Because the moment I align with that, it all falls into place. So thanks so much for that question, Teresa. And with that, Ames, I'd like to ask you, you emphasize the power of knowing and living by our values. How does that shape the way we pursue love, while staying true to ourselves?
Hmm.
Great question.
Yes. So I want to piggyback on some things that were said by one by Teresa. It's like these shape shifting, these cloaks, these masks that we put on. You know, one of the things that I realized was a telltale sign that I was not being authentic to myself was this constant internal sadness. It was just like a low burn, but it was there just enough that I noticed it. And that's our authentic self mourning the fact that we are not seeing them. We're not recognizing them. Excuse me. And so there's an internal slow burn loneliness that we feel. And if that's how you're feeling, it's a good thing to start asking those questions without judgment, because we can't have judgment around questions. And I want to say, like Marcy said, I am the authentic me, but I want to say that doesn't mean it's not I'm the perfect me. We are authentic in our imperfections. Okay. That means we're not afraid to make mistakes on our authentic self, because those we consider as learning moments of learning. So when you hear us speaking, it's not like we're doing it perfectly. This is not it. That's not the goal. The goal is to live, learn, figure things out, go on a journey, be the authentic person that you want to be, not the perfect person that other people expect you to be. This is the problem. With that, values. I love me some values. It's very important that we know what makes us tick. It's very important to know what's important to us, right? Now, values are things that we write down on a paper, right? Where this is like, oh, I'm going to put the value of love, right? But that does nothing. You have to actually embody love as a value, right? My values are peace. Number one value, peace. I learned a hard lesson on that one. Peace, openness, fun, right? Confident, like being creative is very important to me, and open. So when I was dating, when I first, my fiance passed away in 2011, and then I started dating 3.5 years later, I was like, and I decided, I had been doing this work since 2001 or something like that. But I had decided that I am going to embody my values and warrior. I would call it warrior up. And I'm going to warrior up on my way to the date. Right. And so what did I want to embody? I want to embody openness. I want to embody freedom. I want to embody fun. I want to embody this curiosity. And we can do that. We can actually embody those values and walk in a room with them. Okay. Because the value of confidence doesn't live in your head, it lives in your body. The value of joy lives in your body. All these values actually live in our body. And when we decide, number one, what are our values, right? Those have to become the beacon of light that you are going to every time. Those have to be your rules and regulations during this time that you're going to really embody them and learn how to stay true to your values, because we've been taught to take out, our values don't matter. Everyone else values matters, right? So we must take accountability for our values and then stay true to them. Because if I have a value of honesty, and that's a really high value for me. Some people it's not that high of a value for, by the way, no judgment, right? Some people honesty is like number 20. And then for other people, honesty is number 1, right? But if I have that value of honesty and I'm not being honest, I am hurting my authentic self. I am causing pain to myself because I am not staying in my integrity around this value. Now, for me, once I have it like listed, I know what they are, I know what they feel like. And then when I am being tempted to go off that value, right? I can refer to it and be like, no, that doesn't hit my values. And if you're looking for a relationship, values are very important, right? What are their values? I want someone whose values are peace and love. Like, to me, I'm like, those are very important values in my relationship. I don't want conflict and undue, I want a peaceful house. I want love and peace. So really examine not only your values, but the values of people around you, and if they're aligning with you or not. Okay. This is not about judging, they're bad, they're good. It's more like they have different values than me, right? And we're just not aligning on these values. So go out there and make your top 5 values, and then really try to reflect and embody those values. Like, what does confidence look like to you? What does joy look like to you? Right? Get a visual in your mind, has to get the visual going before you get it in the body. So with that, where are we at, Marcy? We got time.
Yeah, I'm thinking, let's just ask Lisa and Teresa their last questions. We could take questions. If anybody has anything in the audience that you would like to ask one of our teachers or Amy or myself, just put it in the chat. And then, of course, we want to hear from Lisa and Teresa because they have some amazing things to share with us.
So if you have a question, put it in the chat.
Yeah,
and
and
then
in the meantime, let's go to Lisa.
I will ask Lisa, as I'm having a hot flash. How can we use quantum principles?
Looks like Amy has frozen. So Lisa, I'm going to finish asking you that question until she comes back to us. Let's see. How can we use quantum principles like the observer effect or entanglement to create more fulfilling relationships? This is a hot topic. Love it, Lisa. Thank you, darling.
Yeah, the studying the quantum has become such a passion for me, and it's as Amy referred, it's one of those rabbit holes that you can go down. But I'm going to keep the core concepts of what I utilize is the quantum principles really just deal with the behavior of energy and matter. And I use that lens of relationship using these principles. And so the two things that I really focus on is the observer effect and entanglement. And the observer effect, what it says is just by seeing and observing something, you can change it just by seeing it, right? Another word for that is awareness. Right. So one of the things that I spoke of my recovered avoidance, and one of the things that has helped me work through avoidance was becoming the observer of it. Right. So when I had a coach say to me, I don't know, about 10 years ago, she said, "You know what your problem is, Lisa? You're avoidant." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Not me," right? And then something magical happened. I had a moment where, and I don't even remember the key point of what happened, but I remember the effect. And when this thing happened with my husband, I remember the feeling of separation in my mind that began to observe the part of me that wanted to run. And when I was able to observe it and go, oh, that's the avoidant wanting to run. And just that observing of it was 60% of the healing. Awareness is 60% of the healing, right? So now that I can
Amazing.
observe, right? Now that I can observe that, it is so, it's like a light flashing every time, right? And even though I say I'm a recovered avoidant, those moments still happen. The only difference is I go, I see you. I see you. I'll just observe you. You don't have to go anywhere. I'll just observe. And then I'm good, right? And then we get into entanglement. And the entanglement principle just says that two pieces of matter can affect each other just by being. And how this looks in relationship is that you can have two people, and just by one of those people in the relationship healing, by default, the other person heals. And so it's always funny to me when I have a client, and sometimes I have individuals, mostly I have individuals who are working on their relationship skills, and they'll say to me, well, Lisa, do you think that it's them and not me? And I go, it doesn't matter. You're here. You're here. You get to heal. And by you healing, the entanglement effect says by default, the other person gets to heal. And so these two principles are so profound when it comes to relationship and just really living a fulfilled relationship. And I have a question for Teresa.
Thank you.
Teresa, how can confronting our guilt or fears of being selfish help us stop contorting ourselves and embrace authenticity?
Ah. Right? It's the fear that comes up that blocks us from doing lots of different things, that feeling. And there are, again, misconceptions out there around what self-love means. And that we don't understand that because of how it's been spoken about. And that my second TEDx was actually on self-love and happiness. And that the research that I cite in that talk actually states how there isn't a lot of research on what self-love actually is, and that it is misconceived as either like narcissism, mostly that, but that it's selfish in some way for us to love ourselves. And it's because the true understanding of love isn't there. That when you understand that love is who we are, our essential nature, the core of who we are, that infinite, eternal, energetic part is always an unconditional love. It is that. So if that's who we really are, and we don't embody that as we've been talking about, then we're doing ourselves, I was doing myself a disservice. It led me to the lowest point of my life, where I believed that no one really loved me. And that if something happened to me, if I no longer existed, it would only matter to my kids. And because I was disconnected from the love that I am, I was also unable to accept the love of others, which meant that I didn't believe that anybody loved me. I didn't believe my husband loved me, my parents loved me, even it makes me still upset of the extent to which not being connected to the love that I am technically was keeping love away from me, even though everything I was doing gain that, trying to earn that. Sorry, I'm having there's a big awakening happening in this moment. You're like observing. I've never even expressed it in the way that I'm telling it to you now. I'm so sorry. That's how powerful what we're talking about is. And why doing the work is so important. Thank you, Marcy. Because we can't have the life that we really want to live. We can't be who we really are. We can't have the relationships that we want unless we understand that we are love at our core. And how important it is for us to do the work to connect with that, to be present with it, to embody it, to live it, to be it in all aspects of ourselves, because it changes our life, but it changes the lives of everyone around us. As Marcy was saying, that it immediately affects the people that we live with and that we work with. And then here, all of us in this space, but it extends far greater than that, because it is all energy, as we've been saying. And it is so beautiful and so powerful, and yet we've been kept away from it for different reasons, kept apart from it. And it was there all along. So this is what, like, recognizing that fear and doing it anyway, but understanding that self-love is far greater than just a self-care, getting your nails done and hair done. That's that's one thing that we might do for our physical self, but it's far greater than that, and it affects everything. Everything. So I just thank you so much for giving us this space today, and having this theme, and having us all together to really talk about, as you've said, Marcy, the most important thing that there really
Yeah.
is this love, and us loving ourselves, connecting to that as a being.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. So beautiful. And I'm so resonating with that aspect of realignment that's taking place. I've also had that very same journey. And so I'm holding you in all the love of my heart and my knowingness about who you are, and how important it is that this alignment is taking place in this nanosecond.
It is. It really
Oh, yeah.
is.
So thank you. And I'm going to just leave you to stay in that peaceful place for a moment. And I'm just going to ask Lisa, if you don't mind, to just tell our audience about the two gifts that you've offered. One, that is free for everyone, and the other one that is the VIP gift. I put it in the chat, but let them hear from you just how fabulous this is.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
My free gift that I offer all of you is a heart opening meditation, and it is a 20-minute guided meditation where I guide you through just bringing yourself to a place of presence and openness. And so that is the free gift, and that is on my website, and you can just download that. And in the VIP
Excuse me 1 second. And everyone, you'll be getting that link in an email from Amy and I. Yeah. So no
Perfect.
worries. You don't have to
Perfect.
go searching. Yeah.
Perfect. And in the VIP package, the course that I have included in that is called Creating Magic in Relationships. And it is it was a 10-day challenge that I gave, that there are 10 focal points that you will be able to view, and also some guest speakers as well. And it was such a beautiful 10 days of just so much awareness. So I hope you'll enjoy that.
Oh, it sounds so robust. Thank you so much. I'm sure everyone is going to love it. And I'll put that link in the chat again for everybody to get. And Teresa, can you tell everybody what you've offered today? Because it's so
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. So my free gift for everybody is that I'm going to be holding a free channeling event on March 13 at 7 p.m. EST. And it's there where the collective that was technically assigned to me to help with my spiritual awareness, awakening, who they refer to themselves as the Guardians of the Light. The Guardians will be present with us that evening, and I will channel a message from them to the people in the group. Just like if any of you are familiar with Abraham Hicks, or that they know what the people there who are present need to hear. It's every time I join one of these, it's like someone else asks a question and it somehow serves you too. It just always serves everybody. And then depending on how many people are there will depend on like whether everybody's going to be able to ask a question, or whether the guardians themselves will choose people that are there in attendance to answer any questions that they might have. Everything that I know about happiness is all through them, all of it. Even how emotional I got with the self-love, it was like me connecting to them, to I call them my divine crew. The divine crew is like the angels and guides and ascended masters and ancestors and the whole invisible invisible community that is around us, loving us, supporting us, and guiding us all the time. And so nevertheless, the free gift is that event. So I invite people to come and just see what do the guardians have to share with us. And then for the VIPs, I've shared my Emerge from Failure to Flourishing online course. And that course is really about really understanding what failures are. I had to redefine it. I didn't know. Failure to me meant I was a loser and I suck and I'll never be able to achieve anything. That's not what failure is at all. I didn't know. Again, we don't know. But then, so this course is about bringing some awareness to come from those failures and to move us into flourishing. Flourishing is really like a scientific word for happiness, where we're flourishing in all aspects of our life. So people who are going to take advantage of that will have access to that online course.
Fantastic. Thank you so, so much. Before we close out, it looks like we've got 4 minutes left. Does anyone have a question that they would like to ask either Lisa or Teresa, or maybe make a comment? And by the way, I do ask that you let our speakers know in the chat how much you appreciate them, because they have volunteered these 2 hours to be here with you. Okay, so they've taken 2 hours out of their busy schedules, out of, working with people, out of creating programs, out of doing all of that, just to be here with you. So please make certain that you let them know how much you appreciate them. But again, if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. Okay, I'm sure that they would love to respond. And if you'd like, you can look at the bottom of your screen where you see a heart. It says react. If you'd actually like to ask your question using your microphone, just raise your hand. We're happy to take it like that as well. Anyone? I just want to share. KJ says, yes, thanks to you all. This call was a marvelous moment in the day. The heart feels more open. just made our day. Let me tell you that much. Appreciate you all. Thank you for your honesty, Teresa. This made me release tears. Yeah, I could just feel my heart just opening and so resonating. Jill, thank you for sharing a lot of your journey in our chat. So important that you know, are able to do that, and we receive it and send you so much love and healing and realignment with your truth. And I'm so happy that you really picked up on so much of the incredible information that was shared here. It's wonderful to see the feedback there. And Jill says this is a safe space. Thank you. It absolutely is. Tons of breakthroughs. Amazing. Amazing. What could we ask for, right? Than that. Nothing more. Yeah. So, well, let me just say that I do have one question, all right, of each of you. And that question is this. I'm going to start with you, Lisa, just very quickly, because we only have a couple of minutes. When you started your awareness that there was so much more than what meets the eye in terms of the quantum effects of energy and how we can start to tap in, to tune into that. I have God bumps as I'm asking this question. What can you share with us one revelation that you had? That aha moment was like, whoa.
Oh, there are so many.
I bet there are.
Let me choose. I would say this is one of the more recent ones. One of the more recent is the awareness of how my clients are part of that awareness.
Mm.
And the moments where there is this synergy of the lesson and the message coming through me to them, through them, and back to me. And I remember the first opportunity where that showed up, and it was just like, oh my goodness, I'm not just the coach, I'm being coached by the universe.
Oh, I love it. Oh, is that fantastic? Thank you so much for sharing that. And I can so relate to that. Yep, that's amazing. Yeah, at this point, it's, well, let's see what spirit has to say. I don't know. Teresa, how about you? You know, you spoke about that moment of, you know, realization, the impact that not believing that you were loved, right, had on your life.
Mhm.
And then finding that pathway in where you found that love. Again, we have 1 minute. Can you just share what that was like for you?
It was this. It was that moment that, like in the movies, the angels are going like this. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's how it was. It was
Yeah.
like they had been trying to talk to me my entire life, and I didn't know how to listen. So, because I went to a meditation center, I said, I don't know what to do. Spirit's telling me I need to meditate. They said, you can come, we'll help you get started. And so I went there, and so I'm like, okay, assuming the posture and all the things they said, like, okay, you want to do. And then it was that. It was literally that. Oh, and I'm like, oh my God. It was like an entire world inside of me that I had been disconnected from.
Yeah.
And they will tell you that I cried every single time I went for an entire year, because there's so much love there. It's like I say that we return to the fountain of love. And that's why we go there, so that when we come
Right.
out of it, we can be more loving to everybody else. So that practice is so important because it helps us to reconnect again. Oh, that's how it was.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing from the bottom of my heart, and I know Amy's. Lisa and Teresa, it's been such an incredible experience to have you here. I'm sure we'll be calling you back again. Just such beautiful hearts and willingness to share, and such incredible wisdom, really. Thank
Mhm.
you. And to all of you who took your time out of your busy days to give to us to be here in this audience. I can't tell you what it's like to know that our work is appreciated and that you're willing to give your time to receive what we have to give. Without a place for our love to land, love is not fulfilled. Okay? So we must be giving and receiving. That's why we're here. And we're here together because we're in such resonance with each other. I love you all. I thank you all. And you'll be hearing from us. Everybody in the audience, you'll be getting some wonderful information, all the links for Lisa and Teresa's free gifts, and of course, more opportunities for the VIP to purchase that. And let's see what else. Yeah, and Amy's and my, free gifts and courses and programs. And stay in touch with us. Let us know how affected you are by the programming that we provide. Leave your comments. Please share. Let everybody know that we're here. This is, like I said, this is our way of giving back. And Amy and I are very committed to it, as you can see, Teresa and Lisa are as well. So have a wonderful, wonderful day. And thank you again, everyone. Please give your last shout outs to Lisa and Teresa and let them know. Yeah, they are awesome. Absolutely awesome. So much love to you all. Okay, everyone, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again next month. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Marcy.
1 second.
Oh.
Okay, we have I think that's it. Okay,
Do you
yeah,
want us
for
to-
sure.
I want to have a couple minutes with you if I could.
Sure, of course.
After the show. I don't know if you want to close the recording. It's up to you if you want to.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. I appreciate that.